Hi, I'm Bill Blum, CEO of Alpine Business Systems, and I'm here to talk to you about ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. My intention today is help you to understand what those things are, why ChatGPT is evolutionary and revolutionary, what it costs, how you can use it for free, the risks involved in using it, and how companies are using it to their competitive advantage. My hope is that you'll use it, you'll find value in it, as many others have, and you're going to use it to your competitive advantage. Some very smart people think that this technology is the answer to all of our problems: global warming, world hunger, all kinds of things. Others think that it's going to take all our jobs and kill us. I don't think anybody really knows where this is going. Thinking machines, though, have created quite a few issues: philosophical, social, political, economic, legal, privacy issues, just like a lot of other technologies, and many moral issues on how this technology is going to be used. We're not going to talk about a lot of those today, but if you're interested in that topic, you should actually pick up the book, The Age of AI by Henry Kissinger, Eric Schmidt, and Daniel Huttenlocher. These are very intelligent people who wrote an incredible book about all those very deep, important issues around this new technology. What is artificial intelligence? Well, it's been around since the 1950s, the term anyway. And what you do is you take large data sets, and we produce a lot of data sets today. All the information on the internet is incredible. You add a lot of programming to that, algorithms, and then you take the computer with those answers that you get from these queries and this software, and then you reiteratively put that back into the system so that the machines begin learning. So this is how we got the greatest chess program ever from Google DeepMind technology, which no human being can beat in chess, and it comes up with moves that nobody even really understands. Even the greatest chess experts don't understand what the logic is behind this. And that's because the machine can play itself millions of times and understand what the outcome of certain moves are going to be. And it creates strategies and moves, and therefore no human being can meet these machines' ability to play chess today. They also can fly planes and drive cars, and we're at the very beginning of all of the use of this technology, which thinks faster than human beings. That's why it's so incredible, because the computing power we have today can actually take these data sets, assess them, and come up with answers and solutions much faster than any human being. So my thoughts on this are our responsibility is to use this technology effectively, and it's available to all of us today. So the more information you give it, the better answers you're going to get. You give it better questions, and you're going to get better answers. We need to understand, though, that tech has always been an evolution and sometimes a revolution if it changes the way we work, live, and play. Amazon is nothing more than the Sears catalog on steroids. Uber and Lyft have taken the place of taxis in a lot of places. Waze and other mapping programs. I haven't looked at a paper map in years. Netflix embraced the internet, created a business model around it, and completely destroyed Blockbuster. I had encyclopedias when I was a kid. I haven't opened one in years. We use Wikipedia now, and I haven't been to a travel agency. I use travel apps. And of course, 411, a lot of people don't even know what that is. You can use Siri now to query just about any phone number on the planet, and it'll come back and give it to you in a matter of seconds. Therefore, ChatGPT has been inevitable, predictable, and it is certainly groundbreaking. It's the first technology that challenges the notion and belief that only humans can be creative and conversational. This is a technology that's incredibly creative and conversational. Not to mention 100 million users have adopted this technology within 2 months of it being released, something we've never seen with any other technology. And because of this, every company must now have an AI plan. Board of directors are asking CEOs, what's your plan for AI? Is AI going to be a help to this business, or is it a threat to the business? So this is an incredibly groundbreaking technology, but of course, it was inevitable, it was predictable, like just about every other technology that we've seen. ChatGPT is really a text conversation with a computer. The computer uses generative pre-trained transformers. Now, you don't have to remember all that. Just remember it's a huge data set with a lot of programming. You feed it a query, and it comes back with some creative answers and solutions. And because of that, there's countless AI websites now that cater to specific industries with specific solutions based upon particular data sets. But you have to be careful because there's only one OpenAI ChatGPT. And the only way to get it is by going to openai.com. There are many fake ones out there. When I first started using it, I was actually on a Chinese app that looked a lot like ChatGPT, but it wasn't. ChatGPT does not have a smartphone app at this point. You need to use a web browser to get to it, either a web browser on your phone or a web browser on your computer. There's a lot of issues around it. You have to be very careful about the privacy issue. If you put anything into ChatGPT, just like if you type anything into Google or you choose movies on Netflix, it keeps that information and then provides you with ideas on what it thinks you would like to watch. So it personalizes the experience for you. That's what ChatGPT does. They have a privacy button as well now so that you can say, we don't want you to store our queries, but you should be very careful in telling your employees not to put any proprietary company information into it. There's also a whole lot of legal issues around this. Who owns the data? Who owns the intellectual property? Let's say you used it to create software and you're now commercializing that software. Well, if you used artificial intelligence to do it, who owns that intellectual property? Is it the company that owns the AI? These are all issues that need to be addressed and considered. ChatGPT is owned and developed by OpenAI. It is a 2015 nonprofit funded by Silicon Valley investors. Microsoft invested about $11 billion into this technology several years ago, and for that they have an exclusive license to rights to use the technology behind OpenAI's ChatGPT. And Microsoft, therefore, is now embedding this technology across its entire ecosystem and all of its platforms. The current version, these are things you should understand, the current version stopped learning in 2021, so they stopped feeding it data in 2021. Therefore, a lot of the information is not current. Okay, it's this huge data set, but understand there's a lot of inaccuracies within it. You can use this technology for free. I purchased a $20 a month license, which gives me the latest version. The free version is 3.5 at this point. The version I use is 4.0, which costs $20 a month. You can also use it and embed it into your technology, and you can query OpenAI's ChatGPT. And for 0.2 cents, you can get 1,000 tokens. And you can then use it to create other industries and commercializations of this technology. That's why there's countless websites using it. So if you go to openai.com, this is what you see. This is the opening screen here. It'll tell you that this is a free research project, and it tells you how they collect the data. And of course, they'd love your feedback because, again, by learning what works for you and what works with the technology will improve. This is the screen once you log in. All of your previous queries are on the left here. I've asked it everything from shade and landscaping ideas to productivity increases and all of these conversations that I've had. I use it probably 5 or 6 times a day. You just type in a query and it comes back with a lot of information and creative ideas, very creative ideas. The marketing that I did for this seminar that I did last week, I used ideas from ChatGPT to create the email that would invite the attendees to the event. And it was pretty successful, probably one of the most successful return on investments I had in terms of the invitations that I sent out. I also used it to create this presentation, and many people are using it to give them ideas on the presentation. So I asked it, what are the top questions a business leader wants to know about ChatGPT? I asked it several times and it came up with dozens of answers. And this is an example of one of them, and I bolded the things that I've used. And because this is not a 4-hour video, ones in bold are the ones I chose for this particular presentation. So I also created some marketing plans for Alpine Business Systems. I gave it a lot of information about my company, about our market, about what it is that we do. And I asked it over and over again to create a marketing plan, and I honed that several times, and it came up with quite a few really, really good ideas on creating a marketing plan. Now, is this going to take the place of a marketing team or a marketing company? I don't think so, but it will empower those companies and people who use it to come up with some pretty interesting ideas. People are using this, companies are using this for customer service. We've all used chatbots over the years, and they've been horrible. They've never lived up to the promise that we thought they were going to be. But now with this advanced technology, many people believe that it's going to supercharge these chatbots. Companies are already using it for sales follow-ups, and some high-tech companies like Meta, Shopify, Canva, Amazon, Netflix, they're all using it to respond to customer inquiries and customer needs much more quickly and efficiently. It can read emails, it can translate voice messages. So I have a client that has a huge database, a couple million potential consumers of their products. They market to them through many channels, and they get 300 emails a day maybe. They now have to have human beings look at those emails and respond to them. Some of them are, don't ever send me this again, put me on the do not call list. Others are, I'm pretty intrigued, send me some more information. And others are like, I'm ready to buy, what am I supposed to do? So what they did was they took their programming team, they licensed some of the OpenAI technology, and they created a program that reads all of those emails and then files them accordingly into the do not call list, routes it appropriately to a salesperson who can answer inquiries, people who need more information, and then the people who want to buy now, it puts them in touch with the proper salesperson. They're now taking voicemails that they get, a couple hundred maybe a day, they feed that into this artificial intelligence. It understands the language, converts it to text, understands what the content of this voicemail is, and routes those messages to the appropriate person that can handle that incredibly efficiently. So we're not having human beings now doing very simple sort of rote tasks that a computer can do. And they're handing those tasks to human beings so they can provide higher levels of value and higher critical thinking around some of this. You can create biographies and bios. Now understand there's a lot of errors and omissions, but it does come up with some pretty creative ideas. I asked it to write a 2-page biography of myself. I gave it a lot of information about myself, and it came back with some interesting information, a lot of it bogus. So everything in red here is bogus. I never attended Rutgers University. I don't have a degree in business administration. I did serve on the board of the Somerset County Business Partnership 20 years ago. Okay, but it comes up with some creative ideas. I did like that overall Bill Blum is a dynamic and accomplished business leader who has made a significant impact on the tech. I like that stuff, so I can maybe use some of that in my bio. Companies are using it to create social media posts, newsletters, pitch decks in Silicon Valley. People are using it to create ideas around pitch decks to venture capital firms. And it can explain very complex subjects. So I asked it to give me an example of how GPT can explain a complex topic. Now, I misspelled complex, but it knew how to spell check my work. And it came back within a couple seconds. Certainly, let's take the topic of quantum entanglement. Now, I have no idea what quantum entanglement is, okay? And I have no idea what any of this is, whether it's true or false or whatever. But I've read articles by MIT professors and experts in certain very slim areas of knowledge who've played with this and were amazed that even though it's not 100% correct, they were pretty impressed by how well it did explain those topics and got it right probably 90% of the time. It also does translation. So I asked it, how many languages are you able to translate? And it came back with well over 100. And it started listing them all out for me. And it can do this on the fly. You input any language and it'll translate it immediately into another language. So many tech companies are using this technology. Like I said, Google has some incredible technology with their DeepMind, and many tech companies have been working on this for several years. Microsoft just happened to release their technology all at once several months ago. And they also included that technology in the new Bing search engine. Now, I've used Bing in the past. It's been horrible. I liked Google a lot better, but I have to tell you this, since I started using this new Bing, it not only creates better answers to my searches, but it also gives me footnotes on what it found and where it found it from. So instead of just typing in a search and coming up with 1,500 websites in less than a second, it actually answered my question and gave me footnotes to either the New York Times or Wall Street Journal or CNET magazine, wherever it found the information from, so I could fact check it myself. So I recommend you check out the new Bing. It also does knowledge searches the way Google does, and this shocked Google. In December, Google had a red alert. It's been reported that they had a code red report that says we need to address this threat to our search engine, to our knowledge searches. So it's really put some ripples throughout the technology industry, but the race is on now. Who is going to dominate this technology in the tech world? And I believe many people are going to have many different solutions around this. So when you get into the new Bing, it's called your AI-powered copilot for the web. You ask complex questions, you get better answers, and you get creative inspiration, all the things that I'm talking about. You ask very good questions, you end up with better answers, and you get a lot of creative inspiration. Microsoft, therefore, is plugging this into all of its applications, its entire ecosystem, from Outlook all the way up to the Azure cloud services that they have. Now we've had dictation in all the Microsoft apps for quite a while. If you haven't used it, I recommend you do. Now we're getting words and phrases because it's reading the email and giving you suggestions that you just click on for a response. And I have to tell you, about 50% of the time when it makes those responses, gives me those choices, a lot of them are very accurate. I click on the response, it's exactly what I wanted to say, and I'm quickly and efficiently managing that onslaught of emails in my inbox. And Microsoft is bringing a lot more solutions and innovations to their platforms. One of my favorite is Microsoft Teams Premium. Microsoft Teams is Microsoft's collaboration platform, meetings, chat, file storage. In that Microsoft Teams now, the premium version, you have intelligent recap of meetings. You can set the meeting to record the meeting and give you a transcript. You can search the transcripts for a word, how many times it was used, and go directly to that spot in the meeting. But it'll automatically generate your notes, recommended tasks, and some personalized highlights. It'll segment the meeting into AI-generated chapters, into sections, and personalized timeline markers. It also does live captions, so I use the closed caption feature when I'm talking to somebody who's very intelligent, and maybe English is not their first language, so they have a heavy accent, and I have a hard time understanding them. If I turn on the closed caption, I can understand everything that they're saying because it translates it on the fly. Also, it has personal coaching. So this particular meeting I had with my team, I talked for 7 minutes and 21 seconds. It said I used 28 filler words. My pace should slow down a bit. And it said that this sounds like a monologue rather than any kind of a dialogue. Are you sure you're talking with someone? So it gives you critiques on your performance in a meeting. So I asked it about the filler words, and turns out I said, 23 times, and it showed me those times in the meeting that I could actually click on and hear myself saying the words So it can help us as an adjunct, like all technology is, from smartphones and just about any technology we've used. It's an adjunct to us to increase our abilities. So this is giving me coaching on my public speaking. It writes software. Well, what does Microsoft do? Microsoft writes software. So I'm not surprised that this technology was used by Microsoft to write software. It debugs software. I know software teams who've put code into it that they're having a problem with, and it comes back, and because it knows many different programming languages, it can actually debug the code on the fly. So this is another adjunct to software developers to not only write code, but to also help them debug it. And it also will give guidance. If you ask it the right questions, it'll give you guidance and an outline on how to write software code. So what I did was we started doing customer satisfaction surveys several months ago, and I noticed we got quite a few 5 stars, and I said we should put this on our website. So my programming team got to work, and they created this scrolling banner on our website that shows up to the minute the customer satisfaction surveys that we get. But I said, I wonder if ChatGPT can write a WordPress plugin that pulls 4 data points from a data source and display it in a scrolling banner from right to left. So what I did was I asked it to do just that. And within a few seconds, it came back with a WordPress plugin, or the code for a WordPress plugin, that would apparently solve that problem. Now, I haven't used this. I don't know whether it's going to actually work or not, but I was pretty impressed with the fact that it did it so incredibly well. In technology, we've been using this technology for several years. We use artificial intelligence as built into our monitoring platform that stops ransomware, phishing attacks, and the new antivirus. Microsoft has something called Microsoft Defender for Business, which is an endpoint detection and response product. It replaces the old antivirus, which was signature-based. These technologies look at the behavior of a computer or a laptop, and they identify things that are not normal because it has this huge data set of normal behavior, and suddenly it sees something like ransomware would be exfiltrating data quickly and then encrypting it. Well, if it sees that, it stops the application immediately and segments that machine from the network. On the phishing protection side, it actually reads the emails, understands the content of it, and can tell whether this is probably a phishing email or not, much better than a human being can and much quicker. On a URL in an email, it'll actually take that URL, open it up in a sandbox, put AI on it, and look at every single bit, everything that's coming from that website, and make an immediate determination as to whether this is something that is a threat or not. And then we have something called a SIM, Security Information and Event Management. These are solutions that were only available to enterprises, very expensive solutions years ago. Prices coming down now because artificial intelligence is becoming, ubiquitous, and therefore the price is coming down. And what this does is it looks at the behavior on an entire network. It takes all of the log files, all of the information, everything that's going on the network, and it makes a determination based on what normal behavior is, and it picks out the abnormal behavior and alerts on it. It's pretty incredible technology. Because this technology is available for free to the general public, people are using it to create recipes, playlists. I wrote a poem. Well, I didn't really write it. ChatGPT wrote a poem. I asked it to write a poem about my grandson in the style of Dr. Seuss. I fed it a lot of information about him, and sure enough, in about 3 seconds, it came up with, 3 pages of a poem on my grandson that was pretty hysterical and mostly true because I gave it all the information, and it pulled from the whole library of Dr. Seuss and gave me a poem in his style. Teachers are using this to help them create lesson plans. And of course, we've all heard that students can use it to create term papers. But of course, Barnes & Noble now has a technology that will look at a term paper and tell you with 90% accuracy whether this was created by a computer or whether this was an actual human being. In fact, the head of education initiative at Barnes & Noble said that this is not going to replace critical thinking. Critical thinking still must be done against this technology, and that's something that at this point only humans can do. So there's a lot of other uses. I mean, I don't know if you've heard, but the music industry is up in arms about this technology. People are taking recordings of artists, mashing it up and creating entirely new songs, and it sounds, well, it is the artist. It's just the artist singing a different song using the artificial intelligence. Creates many, many complications and all kinds of legal hassles into the future. Expedia is using this technology now to create travel itineraries in its Expedia app. It's built into it. And we're going to be using it for personal assistance. So the more we give it about ourselves, the more it can give us information and ideas about travel itineraries, scheduling, even making reservations on its own for us in the future. The legal industry, National Law Review, had an article that said it can help lawyers create legal briefs and even strategies. The amount of data that a diagnostic tool in healthcare produces is immense. This technology can then assess that data and come up with potential diagnoses and be an adjunct and give the physicians and the healthcare workers ideas on what the technology sees amongst this huge data set. And again, it processes this data much faster than human beings can. Pharmaceutical companies are now using it to create drugs. We have some drugs in clinical trials that artificial intelligence has created the molecules for. And there's a trial now in England on lip reading for tracheotomy patients. This is a great way to improve the quality of life of patients and their families and loved ones because they don't have to read the lips anymore. This technology can read lips better than any human being. So some final thoughts on this technology. There's a lot of many issues and challenges and all kinds of debates about all kinds of issues around this. But the core technology's impact is undisputable. 100 million users in 2 months. This technology has definitely rocked the industry, not only the tech industry, but every industry imaginable. So what are we going to do with it? I'm excited about it. I'm also curious, skeptical. I've got a lot of suspicion and certainly some fears about how we're going to use it. But let me take it back to something you've probably heard. There's 3 kinds of people, 3 kinds of companies. Those that make things happen, those that watch what happens, and those who wonder what happened. Well, Sears and Blockbuster certainly wonder now what happened. They missed the boat. We have the ability now, because it's freely available to us, to not only watch what happened, but we can make things happen with this technology, and we can begin to understand it, and we can begin to find ways to use it effectively and in the right ways, let's say. So my hope is that you'll use it and you'll find some value, and you'll use it for your competitive edge, and that you'll use it so you can succeed and prosper. This is the credits. I've read a lot of books, and this is, a whole lot of very busy screen here, but I had some questions when I had the live seminar. How important is this technology? Well, Bill Gates said it is the most important technology he's seen since he saw the graphical user interface in 1980. Now, he saw it in 1980. It came out in Windows 15 years later with the Windows graphical interface. Will it take the place of thinking? No, I don't think so. There's critical thinking. It doesn't have emotions. It doesn't have a lot of the human characters that we have. It is an adjunct to what we do, just like our smartphone is. Does it have biases? Well, of course. Any technology that uses software created by human beings has a bias in it. We've found these biases in all kinds of software that's already been written. So that's a danger. Will it destroy jobs? Some people say it will, but there was an interesting study where they put some very smart people, college-educated people, and some people who had just barely a high school education, and they asked it the same amount of questions, and the college-educated people had to come up with the answer, and they used GPT to enable the people with lesser education, and those answers were pretty identical. So what they're saying is that it may not destroy jobs. It may actually give a lot of people the ability to use this technology and use it for creative purposes and to make a living. How dangerous is it? Well, it could be very dangerous. There's this whole thing called the singularity, which is, people have predicted that when the machines take over, it's going to be, it's going to be Armageddon. The machines are going to take over. Okay, if you remember in 2001, A Space Odyssey, Dave said, Hal, can you open the pod bay doors? And Hal, the artificial intelligence robot, said, I'm sorry, Hal, I can't do that. And that's the vision of some people, that we're going to be slaves to this technology. I don't really think that's going to happen, but there's some danger in the use of it, especially if we begin using it for military operations and things like that. What's the roadmap for the future? Who knows? I don't know. And the technology companies are just saying that they're rushing as fast as they can to understand it and to find ways to enable the use of it in a very moral, values-driven way. And a lot of very smart people are saying we need to put a lid on this for right now in order to understand what the ramifications are of it. But what is the roadmap, where it's going? It's very hard for me to tell. If you have any questions, or you'd like to discuss it even more, or you want to find out how you can use this in your business, we at Alpine have been using artificial intelligence and some of these Microsoft tools for several years. It's enabled us to be incredibly efficient and grow, to be more competitive, and to grow in ways that we would not have been able to without this technology. And we can certainly help you to do that as well. We've done that for many of our clients, and we can certainly do that for you. Just reach out to us and we'd be happy to do that. Thank you.